Poor execution. Rex is one of the oldest engines on the Arlesdale Railway. He's a little cocky, but one of the hardest working and dedicated engines the line has to offer. His reputation is widely known, and many tourists visit the railway to see him and the other engines at work. It's not uncommon for new engine crews to have the same ideas about the little engines as the tourists do, and that can lead to some misconceptions. A new driver had started out on the railway. He visited their little line several times in his youth, and was now proud to sit in the tender seat of one of the miniature engines. Mike was always biased against new drivers and would complain that they were too afraid of his temper. Jock found them to be rather taken aback by his own power, but both were pleasantly surprised with this new driver and how quickly he learned. Both engines talked about the driver to Rex and Bert at the sheds one night. "He's a keeper, that's for sure," said Mike. "Maybe it's a sign of good things to come," pitched in Jock. "A new era of new drivers who know what they're doing and how to treat an engine." Bert hummed in amusement and Rex chuckled. "Well, if he can kick you in check, Mike, he can stay for sure. I've got him tomorrow, so we'll see how he does with an older engine." The next day came. Rex was steamed and moved to the station. There, waiting for him, was Mr. Duncan and a man in overalls. The controller introduced him. "Rex, this is our new driver. Be a good engine and show him the ropes, please." The driver stepped forward. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Rex. I've heard so much about you. I've always wanted to drive you ever since I was a little boy." Rex felt quite flattered. The small controller looked down the platform at the full coaches. "You'd best get ready. It looks like you'll have your work cut out for you." And he left for his office. Both engine and driver prepared, and when they were dispatched, the driver opened the regulator much too quickly. Rex jolted suddenly and slipped furiously. The driver, taken by surprise, shut off steam and tried again. But once more, Rex slipped helplessly on the rails. The driver grew annoyed. "Come on, Rex, we need to go!" Finally, he lost patience and opened the engine's sanders. Now, Rex pulled out of the station, absolutely fuming. He thought the driver was implying he was slipping on purpose. Rex complained bitterly about the driver that night. "How dare he? What cheek he has to think I slipped on purpose?" Mike chuckled at Rex's misfortune. "I don't know. Maybe your age was showing. Dripping water from your boiler, maybe?" Bert was quick to sympathize. "It's nothing to do with Rex's age. Rex is more light-footed when compared to the rest of us, Mike. You're only just safe from that. Keep that in mind." "Well, I'm glad I'm on relief work tomorrow. I won't have to deal with him then." But unfortunately for Rex, he did. The next morning, Bert's injector failed and he couldn't leave the shed. Rex was put into service in Bert's stead, and he wasn't best pleased when he saw the new driver step into his cab. "Alright, Rex, here's hoping we're off to a better start today." Rex scoffed, and when the train was dispatched, the driver opened the regulator, and Rex once again jerked forwards and his wheels slipped. The driver stood and leaned forward in the cab. "Really, Rex? Again? Why are you insistent on giving me so much trouble? You aren't that different from Mike, and yet you give me more of a headache. If anything, I think the book's got you two the wrong way around." Rex seethed with fury and jerked the train forward when the driver tried again. He made quite the noise as he snorted and slipped out of the station. He was quite a sight. Even Bert watched the furious engine and agitated driver as their train crawled out of the station. The rest of the journey was no better. They made terrible time at each station and struggled to make up for it. It all came to a head when they got to Arlesdale Green. The driver had just finished apologizing to the passengers before he strode angrily to Rex. "What's with you?" he exclaimed. "We don't have time for foolishness, Rex. Jock and I are always early here." Rex lost patience. "Excuse me? I am not Jock. I don't have his strength, and I am certainly not Mike. We are very different. You want this train going on time? Start treating me like an individual and we'll get somewhere. The driver was shocked. He didn't say anything. He returned to the cab and waited for dispatch. Rex was still seething when he felt his sanders come on and his regulator slowly being opened. He didn't slip, nor did he make much noise. Rex and the driver didn't speak for the rest of the journey. When they returned to Arlesdale, however, Mr. Duncan was waiting for them on the platform. He spoke severely to Rex about his bad behaviour and the complaints he had received, but the driver cut in. I'm sorry, sir, but I'm to blame for today's performance. I might be a little too familiar with Jock and Mike's control and power. I didn't treat Rex properly. I'm sorry, both of you. Mr. Duncan eyed the controller. Sir, if I may, chimed in Rex. Both controller and driver stared. I think he'd benefit from a bit more experience with me. I'm sure I'll be able to teach him how to handle older engines properly. The small controller smiled. Very well then, Rex. If you're sure, I'll see to it that your driver here is assigned to you on your wool trains. That should give you sufficient time to teach him. Until then, I'll assign him to Mike. How does that sound? Both engine and driver thought that to be a fine idea. Now, Rex doesn't have troubles with the driver. The driver took his time to learn from the old engine, and now the two are rather friendly with each other. Better still, Rex quite appreciates when the driver is assigned to Mike. He knows just how to quell the fiery red engine, and that makes everyone much happier.